we would like Canadians, I think most Canadians would like to know when they're speaking to a veteran. I think they should know that. And the reason we would want to know that is to be able to say to that veteran, thank you. Thank you for what you do. You fight for our freedom, and we have a wonderful country here in Canada because we have freedom. We don't have wars on our soil. We have a constitution that defines our rights. We are a land where we live by the rule of law, and that gives us the freedom to live and play and work with our families in our communities the way we want. It's the best country in the world because we have freedom. But freedom wasn't free. It never has been. It was hard fought for in battlefields over centuries, heated debates in parliaments over centuries, and that's part of our British Christian cultural heritage that dates right back to the Magna Carta of 1215. And soldiers over all those years and currently in Canada are still fighting for our freedom in far-off lands like Afghanistan and Bosnia, and some of them come back broken, whether it's with physical injuries from stepping on landmines or bullets and bombs, or PTSD because they've been right in the front lines facing terrible situations that most of us could never imagine and would certainly not want to be exposed to. But they have, and they have fought our freedom and paid the price, and we need to say to these people, thank you very much for what you do. We benefit because of what you did. I had the privilege of standing with veterans on Parliament Hill about 6 weeks ago to basically, they were protesting against the federal government for not giving them enough help for the injured veterans, whether it's physical injuries or PTSD, which is a huge problem for them. So that was a privilege to do that, to have this was a private member's bill of mine, and I was surprised at how much veterans would come to me and say, thanks for doing that, we appreciate that.
Do you feel like the current incumbent, Lou Rinaldi, who's a popular guy, is forced to vote against the interests of his constituents currently?
I think so. I think a number of times there's been things he's voted on that he voted because the party told him to. His vote was whipped. I think on cap and trade, horrible for our riding. We have a lot of farmers who are being killed with the carbon tax. Let's call it what it is. It's a carbon tax. A lot of farmers are being killed by that. He has supported every single piece of legislation that has driven our hydro bills up. He supported the Samsung deal with the wind turbines. He's very much loved and respected in our riding because he's a big community guy, especially in Brighton where he lives. But the thing I'm hearing most about him is we love Lou, but his boss has to go.
What does the Trillium Party have to offer Ontario that the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP can't offer?
Well, first and foremost, no whip vote.
Welcome to another edition of Trillium Talk TV. Something different, something better. I'm your host, Greg LaRue, and here with me is Bob Yachik, leader of the Trillium Party. Bob, welcome to Trillium Talk.
Thanks, Greg. It's nice to have you back. As much as I liked John last week, I'm really glad to have you sitting here. Sorry, John Grant.
Well, it's good to be back, Bob. Now, Bob, I have a question for you.
Fire away.
Your last name is Yachik, so your family hails from Eastern Europe?
Well, it's part of my family. I'm kind of a mutt, Greg. I mean, my father's side comes from, I guess, way back Ukraine, and my mother's side is English, Irish, Welsh, and who knows what else. I like to think I'm a blend of all the good parts.
True blue Canadian. Well, my mother's side of the family hails from Central or Eastern Europe, depending on where you draw the boundary. It'll go somewhere. And it was my grandfather's 90th birthday on the weekend. And so we got to hearing some old World War II stories, of course, over a couple of glasses of wine. And he described how hopeless people felt when the Germans invaded. Because you had two choices as a young peasant farmer back then. You could join the Germans, be a collaborator with the occupiers, or you could fight with the resistance, who were a bunch of communists, or you could just sit out entirely and be victimized by one or both of those groups. You really had no choice but to fight for evil or stand back and be victimized. I get the sense that Ontarians are feeling the same way about this election.
Wow, you certainly moved it into a new category there, Greg. But how about a third option? Didn't you say your grandfather come from there?
Yes.
So he chose a third option, right? He woke up, he quit the site, he rejected both those options. He said, you know what, I'm going to Canada. And here you are, and if he didn't make a good choice, we wouldn't have this perfect situation where you're the host of a fast-rising Trillium Talk TV show. So you know what? There are other options you can take. Don't think you only have to pick one or the other or start doing some sort of strategic thinking. Go with your heart. Your father saw the writing on the wall, said, I'm going to Canada because it's an awesome place. Let's try to keep it that way.
No kidding. Well, now it sounds like this message that you've been trying to get about a third choice. You've actually put that into a commercial that's made the rounds.
Boy, that didn't take too long to get out there. Yeah, we did do it. We did do a commercial, and I assume you're going to be showing the commercial here, are you, Greg?
Well, Jordan's behind the computer over there, but he'll be doing it. Here we go.
Oh my gosh. All right, so this is a commercial that we filmed in my swimming pool, and I remember, before you look at it, I remember trying to come up with an idea because we've been trying to crack the media barrier. Oh my gosh, trying to get the Trillium Party noticed is a tough thing because the fix is in. Straight up, you've already seen the three big parties doing any of the debates. In my own town here, they don't have me in the newspapers. They don't have anything. I'm the leader of the Trillium Party. We've done amazing things for the last couple of years. Sitting member of parliament, members coming our way, putting a bill, Affordable Hydro Act ahead that's been accepted, and we never get any press. So how do we do it? So Jordan, our operator here, has said, come up with an idea, and I'm going to give Jordan credit on this one. He says we can do a video that will rattle them, that they'll have no choice but to at least look at. So why don't we start it from there? See what it's like. Here comes the best part. Here we go. Ta-da! When it comes to the big community, take that moment, let's read the more years, bring service to bring something different, something better, that we never put in the. Okay, and I want to tell you a few details in that one. I did it in one take.
How long do you have to hold your breath for?
Well, we calculated it out, 45 minutes.
In a row?
Yeah. If you believe that, you'll buy this watch.
I think the boo sound effect should have been on that one. That was pretty lame. There we go.
Say, if you believe that, you'll probably be voting PC or Liberal. That's right. Oh, come on. That gets a symbol. Well, Jordan's discovered the new sound effects button on the computer, so we're going to have a lot of fun here.
No kidding. Well, you know what, Bob? I mean, the commercial, that was a little bit out there, but I guess you got to skate on the thin edge if you want to make a splash.
You hear that bell? That bell out there. We come up with a bit of a competition to see how many puns we can put out there. So every time you hear a bell, that'll be counting as a pun. So we have one officially. So.
But you know what, Bob? I got to say, I mean, I really liked the commercial. It's fantastic. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. But, I disagree with one of the premises. I mean, because they are maybe all to blame, but they're not all the same, and they're not all to blame for exactly the same reason. I mean, two parties, the Liberals and the NDP, are more or less the same in their platforms, but the Conservatives are different. See, two of the parties want to take your money and give it to civil servants on the premise that some of it will trickle down to the needy. The third party wants to take public property and give it to developers, like the Greenbelt. And so the effect on you might be the same as a citizen of Ontario, but, the way they go about it is a little bit different.
Well, you know what? I take a little bit of umbrage to this, that you're actually talking about the platforms. Nobody should care about the platforms. And you're going, I know that sounds like a big statement, but I'm going to, and I couched it in this. Look at the voting record. If it's one thing you've ever been taught when you were a kid, if you want to see what somebody's going to do, judge them by what they've done. You look at the voting record of all three parties. How many people here know that every one of the three other parties, the big three, have voted to sell hydro? Oh, you're going to be shocked. And you got a bunch of NDP people. We never did that. Check out the voting. It's on record here, and I'm willing to, if you ever want it, just give an email to me, and I'll send you the written voting record. Okay, and then how many knew that the PCs voted to stop the Hydro Act, as well as voted to sell the Hydro One? Every single party voted for it and against it. Every party has supported each other all through the last 3 or 4 years. And because someone makes a bunch of stuff up in the last 6 weeks, we're all going to give them another 4 years to take our money, put us deeper in the hole. There's something wrong with that. That's an abusive cycle that should end. Like your father decided to come to Canada, maybe you should decide to vote for the Trillium Party to break the cycle.
Grandfather, but close.
Your father. Okay. You're not that old, Greg. Yeah,
okay,
fair enough.
We're getting a comment from a Facebook commenter asked, how can you be taken seriously as a leader after the video of you talking underwater?
Okay, I don't see the name here, but you know, one thing is for certain. You would never have written that if you hadn't seen this video. You and I wouldn't be having this dialogue if you haven't seen that video. So in the last 2 days, it's gone viral, and I forget how many thousands and thousands and thousands of people have seen this thing, even to the point where it went in national television through CBC. You and I are now having a conversation. Let's talk about being taken seriously. We have the only bill. We have a bill for the Hydro Act, Affordable Hydro Act. Now we can talk about how that bill was accepted by all three parties. We can talk about how we want to challenge the Samsung deals. We can talk about our healthcare system. I can now ask you, who never would even know we existed, to ask you to go. I can ask you to go and check out TrilliumOntario.ca and see what our policies are. I'm sorry, but if your priority, if your concern is whether I was in a swimming pool doing a video, then you're missing the point. The point is this: we're $350 billion in debt. Our kids are in trouble. Our job market is in trouble. We're being led by the federal party. So the priorities are this. Those are the things we should be concerned about, not whether I'm in a swimming pool. Because I was in a swimming pool is the reason you and I and many others are having a conversation now. We were noticed finally.
Well, and hang on a second, Bob. It looks like Twitter's reacted to your swimming pool video.
What do we have?
The beginning of a 500-year tradition of underwater press releases by Trillium Party ON.
Hey, John Francis. That's John Francis. I want to thank you for that. I like the idea of a 500-year tradition of Trillium Party press releases. That says a lot of your confidence in us.
I'd also like to say nice beard. This
and the opposite of the nice beard.
The opposite of the nice beard, Gary Toll. With all the mudslinging taking place during this election, this ad is great. Well done, Bob. Thumbs up emoji.
Hey, I have seen a lot of Twitter responses, a lot of Facebook responses on them. And by far, Greg, it was a bit of a risk. Who's fooling who? That I do an ad like this. But we couldn't break through the media barrier no matter what. Because we took the risk, we're having a conversation. And the amount of pro and con Facebook comments, I bet you I get 10 or 11 good ones, and then I'll get one bad one.
I mean, this one's got to count as a great one.
Now that's an enthusiastic supporter, Mr. Tyson. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is when we go on to the, I was concerned about some of the comments, the criticisms, like 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 11, and I was concerned about them. And when you go and follow up on the people that have criticized it, I can virtually say virtually every single one was, yay, support Doug Ford, yay, support the Liberals, yay, support the NDP. They had all the holding up the signs and stuff. Though we're engaged with these people now. We're in the NHL and we're playing in the other team now because of this. So the criticism, well, you got to get over it. Be concerned about the stuff that counts.
Exactly. And you did hold back from your original idea to do it in a bathing suit. You still wore a suit, and
you know what? We got to respect the people that want to.
You didn't want to distract people too much.
No.
With...
I mean, this awesome Adonis body here
exactly
has to be. My wife didn't want to share. So
okay, go. Fair enough.
Hey, there was another Facebook thing there. We got to talk about that one. I like that one. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. This is my favorite one. When he pulls out flashcards from inside his jacket, defining moment in my life and Canadian politics on Ontario politics. Anyways, it was that. You know how hard that was to do? Oh my gosh, I think I lost weight. It was like a 5-hour shoot on my cell phone to do that. We had another Facebook comment and say, well, what, you trying to blow off your budget before the end of the election? Yep, that whole video I think cost us some hot dogs and hamburgers that we cooked on the barbecue.
I don't think you lost weight then.
You're right. Look at that.
You just balanced it out with the hot dogs and hamburgers,
I
right?
had a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers.
Right
it
on.
was tiring. Oh my gosh. It was tough, Anyways. So, but you know what we did get? We did get national attention. First time ever we got onto
2 days.
CBC
really
show Power Politics. And so we had, if you look at our logo, I think we're going to show the clip. And I remember looking at our logo, the Trillium Party of Ontario was up on CBC for something like 5, 7, or 8 minutes. And the last time I had CBC call me, and all the time we've been making all these massive moves in Canadian politics, where we've been doing the most amazing things. I've had CBC call me once before. You know why they called me, Greg? I need you to ask why.
Why did they call you, Bob?
So they could ask me the telephone number of somebody else.
Oh.
And here we are now on Canadian politics, or Power Politics, across the country. And this is how I know it was become popular, is because my niece in Saskatchewan said, well, I think I just saw Uncle Bob drown on TV. To my sister. So then we saw it on... anyway, here's the clip. Let's have a look.
To be taking a look at those and deciding which direction they want to take the province. This is a really critical decision.
Speaking of visions for the province, on a much lighter note, I'm going to play a video that came out today from the Trillium Party. Take a look.
We made her laugh. They edited the video a little bit, but hey, you know what? At least we're up there. And the amount of hits this thing has had is off the charts. We are something different.
Somebody said, next level. Next level. Things are getting crazy. What do you think, Marie, about what Rachel's saying about the...
Oh, God, I thought you were going to ask me about that video.
No. I just love the video, so I want to play it. What do you think about the Trillium Party's chances?
Did he drown?
I don't think so. He's still running. No,
still
more
here.
about just, I guess, what everyone's been saying about their pitch. And I'm also interested in the sort of the idea of people who might be trying to strategically vote, especially since
Jordan,
what happened. I already felt like anecdotally so many.
The idea of strategic voting, how does that work for us in past? Would you say, I would suggest to you that the single most devastating blow that ever happened to this province was when people voted for, strategically voted against, I think it was David Peterson, when they voted for Bob Rae to come in this country. Now, so I was talking to a crowd the other day, and I was talking about the NDP vote when Ontario went NDP one time in its history. And I realized nobody here knows what I'm talking about because it was so long ago. I don't remember how many years ago. It was like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Oh, maybe more than that.
No, not that long.
No.
20, 25, or maybe less.
A quarter of a century ago.
Yeah.
That's the other way to say it. So anyone that is 30 years or younger would have been 5 when the NDP were here. Anyone 40 would have been 10, 15 years old. They didn't care about it. All they knew was that things were bad after that. But there's a lot of us that remember the good and the bad. We remember the Bob Rae days. We remember the NDP days when they devastated Ontario, just devastated it, and we've never recovered from it. And we have to be concerned about them pulling this off again. So, if you're looking for somebody to balance out the whoever's going to win, Trillium Party is the party that'll do it. We care about our constituents more than we care about the leader. At least that's what my candidates are telling me.
Well, right, and the Conservatives, they have some weak candidates in some places, like Newmarket, Aurora. So I think strategically people should be voting for you just so that Newmarket, Aurora doesn't go NDP. Okay,
you know what? Can we have an applause on there somewhere? Thank you, Greg. Yeah, and Newmarket, Aurora, vote for Bob Yatchak.
Christine Elliott? What, seriously?
I did not hear what you said.
Good.
Just do it!
Okay. I don't know. Greg didn't say it earlier, but today we're having a little bit of a lighthearted summary of the last 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 weeks of highs and lows and things like that. Okay. Anyway, so we're trying to lighten it up a little bit today, hence the sound effects board. And you know what? We're falling short in our puns.
No kidding. No kidding. But they can't be forced. They got to come, straight from the heart. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of touching on the high points, I mean, this has been a pretty great 14 weeks. I mean, who could forget the fantastic moments? Gentleman Jack being evicted from Parliament.
Oh, when Jack McLaren, he just to give us some context, folks. So Jack McLaren is our sitting MPP in provincial Parliament, and so he's in there and he's presenting our hydro bill and Affordable Hydro Act. And my gosh, it was a really comprehensive, well-researched bill, and it was out there. Now, anyone out there that's watching this, they may not understand how private member bills go. Usually, the member puts the bill up there, and then all the other parties go bang, 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 shoot it down, it's in flames. But the candidate's allowed to say, hey, well, at least I tried. So Jack put the private member's bill out there, the Affordable Hydro Act, and among the presentation, what he was talking, it was about how the Legislative Assembly did something illegal in the current hydro situation. And he gave the facts about the legislation did something illegal. And that's when the Speaker of the House stood up and said, I asked the member from Canada Carleton to withdraw the truth. In fact, let's just have a watch at the video. And it's one of the high points.
You can't handle the truth.
So what happened was the Speaker of the
that wasn't the clip, but that's awesome.
So what happened was Jack, the Speaker of the House, asked the member from asked Jack to withdraw the statement, and Jack said, "What? But it's the truth.
You can't withdraw the truth."
And exactly. So then she said it again. I asked the member to withdraw the statement. And Jack said, you can't withdraw the truth. That's the character of Jack McLaren and how he wouldn't recant it. Now you're thinking, so what's that mean? What? It seems like you can say all kinds of less than truth, let's say, in Parliament. But when you do say the truth, you get ejected. Because if Jack McLaren were to say, I'd be willing to withdraw that truth, you know what that means? That means Hansard eliminates what he said. It's off of the video. It's off of the transcripts. It's like old world Egypt when they say, "Thou shall be expunged from every column." Oh, whatever. It's gone. So Jack McLaren stood by his premise, and then he was escorted out, as you saw in that video. And then the best and most important thing that can be said here is the bill was passed by all three parties into third reading. And then, so that was an amazing moment. All three parties said the Trillium Party of Ontario's Affordable Hydro Act was awesome and should go forward. That's an endorsement. We should have made a video about that, saying how, hey, all caucus finally agreed on something, that the Trillium Party's bill is awesome.
Yeah, you don't need to have a majority in Parliament to make an impact.
Oh, I wish I could get that message out. So, what else did we have?
Well,
going on?
we had some low points as well. If we're being honest with ourselves about the last 14 weeks, we had some candidates that were fantastic around, and one specific candidate who didn't last all that long and was forced to step down.
Yeah. This was the person, I believe the CBC called me up and said, can I get the telephone number?
That's awesome.
I was so annoyed. Here I am, the leader of the party. Who was that? That was...
Michael Tuck.
Michael Tuck from Barrie down there, who was one of... Oh, here we are. For that second chance. This is so sad.
Just a day.
April 29th to April the 30th. Well, I think Michael Tuck's now running as an independent down there. But I remember the email I had, just can't afford to do it and stuff like that. And then I guess it got carried away afterwards and he made it some idealistic hoo-ha.
Well, that's the sad thing, because, even if he wanted his independence, he could have still run as a member of the Trillium Party. He could have appeared on TrilliumTalkTV. We were planning for it because, you know, after all, the Trillium Party doesn't have a whip. There we go.
There we go. Thank you. Well, that was whoop-de-doodle good, eh? Ding. That's sort of a pun.
It's
but
pretty
it wasn't
weak.
punny
But
at all.
no.
Wasn't punny? Come on. Ding.
Yeah. I heard what you said, Bob. I heard what you said.
Anyways, that's you actually hit right on the best part of the whole thing. If he had stayed with us, we are the only party where he would have been able to say what he felt like he wanted to say without fear of reprimand by me or anybody else in the party. Well, that's the coolest part about us. Barrie has its own special needs. Probably not the best way to say it. Barrie has its own needs and wants and things down there. Well, we're the only party where that person, whoever gets elected there, can actually put them forward in Parliament without fear of getting punished, not without getting approval from the leader.
I know you want that one expunged from the record, but that actually was a better pun than the one prior.
Did I make a pun?
Barrie has its own... Never mind.
I'm not going there.
Okay.
I'm not going there.
Not judging that one. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I am. All right. What next?
Well, you know, it's not just the Trillium Party that's been active. I mean, we have a lot of stuff going on in the general election. I mean,
if I could interject here, something that's driving me right around the bend is I keep talking about how good the Trillium Party's done. You know how we've got a sitting member of Parliament who walked the floor for one of the major parties, and how we've also had a few thousand people come over, or 600 and some people come from one riding over to us. How we've had 4 executives from the other parties come and join us, and we can't seem to get our message out there at all. We just can't seem to get our message out. So we haven't been invited into debates. We haven't been invited to town hall meetings. They are ostracizing us. It's unbelievable. But does that stop the Trillium Party? No. We have so many candidates that just show up anyways. They had a Jamaican-Canadian cultural group of some sort that refused to have us on there. They had 4 other candidates. They had the leader, Kathleen Wynne. They had Andrea Horvath. And they had the Green, and apparently Doug Ford decided not to come. But they didn't even ask us, even though we are in Parliament every day fighting for them. They didn't ask us. So what did we do? We crashed it. We got a lot of publicity out of that. It worked. And then we were invited to some of the media that was sharing the thing. I don't know, maybe it was a sense of embarrassment, or they just decided to play fair ball. But we had one in my own riding up here. The Newmarket Chamber of Commerce, which I'm really, really upset with, decided they didn't want me there. I've been.
Did they let Dorian Baxter in?
They didn't let Dorian Baxter.
Ah,
no, they didn't.
What a shame.
No, all they decided was the 3 parties were going to be there. Only the big 3 were going to be there for the thing. But they allowed all of us, let's call it smaller party, to be in a room that no one went to and set up our table in a little kiddie room. It was like
was it a really short table with tiny chairs?
It was so far away. There was absolutely nobody in that room over there. So anyway, I got my knickers in a knot. Yes, I used the term knickers in a knot. And I said, this isn't right. I used to be the I've been a president of a Chamber of Commerce for 2 terms in a row, and I couldn't believe they would have the audacity to not allow us. So I talked to them, and I get criticized, and I said, come on, well, we're only allowing people that have sitting members in Parliament. We have a sitting member of Parliament. Anyway, they kept on making excuses, and they just say, Bob, you're just
moving the goalposts.
We're not letting you in. Moving the goalpost. Good analogy. So they were not letting you in.
That's not a pun.
So
half ring.
So I was so upset. About it being that an organization that should be trying to be fair and democratic and work for the business community was not allowing people to get information. So we crashed it. And I think we got a video of this. Can we show the video?
Hi, I'm Bob Yatchik, leader of the
banned.
Trillium Party of Ontario, as well as running as candidate in Newmarket Aurora. We just left the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce debate where we were forbidden to speak. You know who was invited? The PCs were invited, Christine Elliott was invited, the NDP were invited. Oh, over here we have the Liberals were invited to speak, Folks, one of the things we are all raised for in Canada is this: freedom and democracy, equality. When you're having information hidden from you, that's not right. In Newmarket Aurora, we got to make something different. We got to make something better. You deserve it. You deserve to have a choice. But when you're not informed of the choice, it's not right. Particularly from an organization that professes to be fair and equal, like the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce. That's not right. We got to demand better. Vote for us, support us, and we're going to bring back your voice, not the leader's voice, not the party caucus voice, but your voice to provincial parliament. Let's make a difference. Vote for something different, something better. Thank you.
You know, I was so offended that the executive, in all their high and mighty attitude, figured they had the right to tell the membership what they could see and what they couldn't see. They actually just banned us, just forbid us to speak. It was like, what, are ideas suddenly not good for the business community of Newmarket? Well, you know, and the thing that even bothered me more than that, yes, there is something, is the idea the members thought that was okay. If you're in business, Greg, the number one job you have is to try and find a better mousetrap, you know, so that you can compete out there. When you're not even allowed to look at the catalog of better mousetraps, well, you're doomed to failure. And that's what I saw in that room. A room full of people that thought it was fine and dandy not to hear any other options. And they celebrated it. They said, oh, it's okay. If I was the executive, if I was the membership in that place, I would fire the executive next chamber election. I'd get rid of them. Yeah, that's a challenge I'm putting out there. Get rid of the chamber executive that doesn't like free speech. That's what you should do.
I was intending to join the Newmarket Chamber of Commerce, but the breakfast meetings are at like 7 a.m. and it's just not happening.
And they're unfair.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Both those things. Well, Bob, I mean, you know, I got to say about the Trillium Party, it sounds like you guys have a lot of tenacity. I mean, because I guess I'm part of you too, but you know, a lot of tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, and you know,
get back up again.
When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. You stay with it, never backing down. Come hell or high water, you would never concede defeat.
Ding.
But you know, some people might say, well, that's politics. I mean, a leader of a party is never going to, you know, just admit that they're not going to win.
Oh, come on.
They're never going to...
No matter how much you're drowning in misery, no matter how much you're drowning, a leader never says, I quit. You know, we've taken hits left, right, and center, and we get in there and we still get back up and we still fight. My candidates are taking left, right, and hits from every direction. But you know who did quit?
Well, who quit, Bob?
Who quit is the leader of this province, the premier of this province. She come out, and first time in the history of anything, first time in history, a leader has actually said, well, we're not going to win. Oh, well, I give up. Oh, my gosh, she stabbed her constituents in the back. She stabbed her candidates in the back. A leader doesn't do that. You get back up, you wipe off your chin, and you get in there and you keep swinging, because that's what her people need to see. She has so many people backing her, wrongfully, I think, but she has those people backing her. Act like a leader that you're supposed to be. Get back up and keep doing the fight. If anyone, I just don't have tolerance for anyone that quits, even after they get beaten. Oh, wait, even if you get beaten after you run in a leadership race and you don't win, and then you just throw a hissy fit and quit and move on, if you catch my drift. And
I have no idea who you're talking about, Bob.
Christine, what?
We're not going to go there.
And I got to give one more, because you said a leader that can't win.
There's a pun.
Turbo pun.
Can we have a giant round of special effects applauses for Jordan Miller, Millar? Yay! Good job, Jordan.
He loves when you spell his name wrong.
Right now he's rolling his eyes because he thinks we're clapping into the microphone. He's a mean-spirited man, but he's okay. Wow, you know, how about some other shenanigans? You know, we had the usual sign war.
Well,
things.
I was going to say, you know, I was driving around Newmarket Aurora, and I noticed, you know, probably at the corner of Sykes and Bathurst, that one of your signs had been defaced. So
one of my signs have been. I wish it was one of my signs that were defaced.
Well, it could have also been the wind, because this was right around when there was a massive windstorm.
Could have been the wind.
Could have been the wind. But you know, do you suspect that it's Wonderland employees that are behind all this sign vandalism?
No. We had two things happening. First, I'm going to talk about my sour grapes and this whole thing. The town of Newmarket. You know what the town of Newmarket does? Not Aurora. Aurora seems to be pretty cool about it. But the town of Newmarket has demanded an extortion fee of $500 to even be able to put up election signs. I'm sorry.
And if you don't pay the fee, they send Wonderland employees after your signs. Is that it?
They send people after to come and take down their stuff. But you know what else is happening now through the city? This is one of the biggest idiots I've ever seen. I have a total respect for people that put up their signs, even if they're not from my party, unless they put them in front of my sign. But if those people are working hard and they're fighting for things they believe, what you don't do is ever vandalize anything. That's a part of the problem with a lot of youth today, and probably through history, is they have no
those
respect
youth. They sure have gone wild.
Okay. Anyway, I think we have a video, folks, of the exact thing we're talking about, how the disrespect in politics is running rampant. And this person that we're going to be showing in the video, I want you to have a close look at them. And if you know who this is, call up the police. Call up the I hate to say this, the PC party. Call them up and report this person, because this person should be reprimanded. This person should be charged, and they will be. Each one of my signs I know cost me about $20 with the stakes, and if you include the labor to put it in there, about $20 because I don't pay labor. Anyway, look at this video, and if you recognize the guy, get a.
I'm not wrong. That is a Wonderland uniform, right? Okay, there we go.
Crazy.
This may actually be one of the stupidest individuals going. First of all, he has a name badge, a uniform, and he knows he's being photographed, vandalizing stuff like this. He will be in jail before year 25, guaranteed. And it'll be for something incredibly, fabulously. Save that what?
When the clip is up, random stuff pops up. You don't have to read it.
Anyways, that guy's disgusting, and I tell you, if I was Wonderland right now, I'd be pretty upset, and I would at least can his arse. That's only fair. There's got to be repercussions for actions. Hey, I got repercussions for jumping in a swimming pool. I think I might have caught pneumonia.
Well, you're looking okay now.
I don't have anything to say to that.
Right on. Well, now, Bob, how have things been going with the campaign? We're only a few days away from Election Day. Has the Trillium Party gotten any votes in the early? Or do they release the results of the early polls?
No, we don't have results of the early poll. I've been doing a lot of door knocking, a lot of canvassing, and what we do get with this electronic polling voting is we get early results of who has voted. And I tell you, I got a good portion of my identified vote has come out, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not entirely 100% sure about the electronic voting yet. I don't trust anything on my computer. I don't trust anything on my phone. I mean, I believe everything can be hacked. Everything can be... I like the old days when we had a piece of paper and we had someone counting ballots. What is so wrong with that? Oh, well, you know what? Everybody wants faster and better. So the way I look at the Trillium Party right now is this. We have fantastic candidates. We have candidates. There's only two types of candidates that get into politics. Now, I say this as a guy that's been in politics forever and a day, running many, many candidates in my previous life that have become MPs. And there's only two types of people. There's the opportunists that believe they can just trick somebody into voting for them by having 6 weeks of campaigning and have a job for 4 years where they'll be able to make all kinds of advantage from or take advantage from. And then there's the idealists, Those are my favorite people, that they're doing it for the right reasons because they want to make a difference. And those are our candidates. We have a pretty good slate of those candidates. And the way I'm looking at it, we're making a huge difference in Ontario. If I can use, you did the war analogy with your not great-grandfather, your grandfather.
There we go.
So I'm going to go back to a war analogy. It's like when the Allies were storming the beaches of Normandy. They threw everything they had at it. So that's what we're doing. We're throwing everything we have at this election. And sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little, but we're throwing everything. And we know we're going to lose a lot of our candidates. But all I want is to get a few that land on shore and set up a base. Because that base of people is what's going to be holding the feet of this government to the fire. Asking the pointy questions they don't want to have asked. And then we're going to be putting bills forward. Like, I'll give you an example. What about the sex ed curriculum that Doug Ford says is at the bottom of the totem pole, but not gone yet, just to make sure you're still hooked on to him? Well, what happens when Bob Yachik or Jack McLaren or Liz Marshall or Lonnie Harrington or John Grant, what happens when one of those Trillium MPPs puts the bill forward and says, we would like to repeal the sex ed curriculum exactly like the Progressive Conservatives have suggested, and with all the legal stuff in it there. Now, how are they going to react? What are they going to say? No, we don't want to do what we promised? Or are they going? You're going to call them out? Are they not going to show up in Parliament? Maybe, but at least you know. At least you'll know. The people will know. They'll show their colors, and so we can do a lot of damage. Another good reason.
They also abandoned the policy platform of marijuana being sold privately. They're going to go with the LCBO model. So,
Doug got what he wanted.
Privatizing, marijuana sales is also at the bottom of the totem pole.
No, it's not at the bottom of the totem pole. It's gone.
It's gone. Oh,
he took it right off. He said, oh, no, we're going to go with the LCBO model. He said the words right out loud. On Focus Ontario, he said the sex ed curriculum's at the bottom of the political totem pole. And I guess he got what he wanted, so screw it. We don't need it anymore. That's not the kind of politics you need. That's not the kind of politics you need in Ontario. Making it up on the fly. Oh my gosh! How about the green belt? When oh yeah, we're going to pave it over. Next day we're not going to pave it over. Maybe what's happening tomorrow? Is it going to be another blow in the wind in another direction? You don't need that kind of craziness. You need something consistent. Trillium Party's had the same policy for 3 years. 3 years, we've never changed it once, even after Doug stole our policies.
I was going to say, to be fair to the PCs, they saw the voice of reason for that leadership race for a little while.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's kind of cool. If you wonder if the Trillium Party had made a difference, yeah, they stole our policies, and that's how they're playing this whole election. Good. I just don't believe that they're going to implement a single one that they've put forward. I just don't think they will, and I'm basing that on the idea of what they've done in the past. Say whatever they have to say to trick you into voting for them, and then do what they want, and you throw a big hissy fit until next election, where they're going to have to lie to you again, or make up new stuff that they're going to try and trick you into voting for again. And you may or you may not vote for them, or you may go back to the people that have abused you for the last 15 years. I don't know, but let's try something different. Let's try the Trillium Party, because we're awesome.
So you no longer are projecting that you're going to form government and you're going to be premier, but
we're going to control government.
We're going to control government by having the right people in the right places, passing the right private members' bills.
Wouldn't it be absolutely magnificent if we become the control swing vote and the divided parliament? That would be awesome. Or how about this? We're already affecting government big time, and the way we do that is, let's use me as an example in Newmarket Aurora. Let's say I don't win, and the PCs may win, and I'm just using that as an example. If I was to get 3, 4, 5, 6,000 votes, you know how shook up the Liberals and the PCs and the NDP would be, because they are recognizing at that stage that people in Ontario are waking up, and they're starting to recognize there is another place that people can go. So you know what they're going to have to do? Start doing stuff we want. Because the last thing they want is the people in Ontario to wake up. The last thing they want. They're okay with 4 out of 10 people voting and controlling things, because they always vote for one of them. But they don't want it to be 6, 7, and 8 out of 10 people voting, because that's when they might start losing control and the people might start getting control. So, people, wake up. You 6 out of 10 people that aren't voting, vote. Just take the experiment. 1 hour of one day in the last 4 years. Walk down the street to the polling station. If you have to drive down the street and do something radical, such as vote for somebody other than those big 3. You'll shake them up. You know, will they win? Maybe. They might not win. At least they'll know you're there and that you're waking up and you're going to settle for the nonsense they're trying to sell you for 6 weeks so that they can control your lives for 4 years.
That's right. I mean, they had to sink to new depths to get their heads above water. I know that technically doesn't make sense, but that was like 3.
Oh, we're up to like 5. I'm sorry. Puns.
Bob needs to change his middle name to Duncan. I don't quite get that
Duncan?
one.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
What? How is that? You got to explain that one to me.
Duncan, I don't know.
Duncan Yachik?
Is this Duncan in the water?
Oh!
Oh my gosh! Greg, I'm concerned right now. I respected you right up until that moment. Because you missed an obvious pun, I'm judging you harshly.
What's my punishment?
Bing! He's back, folks. Greg LaRue is back.
Double face palm. I like it.
I'm kind of concerned. Here's a voter that wrote in there. You guys had to sink to new depths to raise your heads above water.
Did you not hear me say that like three seconds ago?
I guess I wasn't paying attention to you, Greg. Now I'm actually feeling really bad.
Oh, that's okay.
Jordan
will fix it in post.
I sound like a typical politician. You're talking. I don't care. That's not true. Anyway, so what other some high points in this election? Well, I've been getting such a good response.
whoa! I have to say it.
Yes.
One high point of this election was when you went to that marijuana.
Oh my gosh!
Distributors party.
We might as well talk about that one. Okay. So the one of the strong platforms that the Trillium Party really felt strongly about is the private sector distribution for marijuana, right? Because they're all in place already. They've been doing it for ages. They have the dispensaries. They have people that know what they're doing. They don't have to build new buildings. They don't have to train new people. And who's going to look after the safety and security and selling it to the right people more than a person whose entire life depends on doing it correctly? Not a union member that's sitting in a government office. Have you ever heard of an LCBO shop that was closed down because they sold to a minor? The answer is no, Greg, because it's never been done. It's never been closed down. So anyway, our big thing is about private sector distribution. So okay, we're courting the people that want that. So we went to we bought a booth up at a 420 convention. Is that what? I don't know anything about the marijuana culture story.
Was it on April 20th?
Yes.
It
was actually on the 20th and the 21st.
Ah, okay.
So it was a 2-day festival up in Windsor. Oh my gosh.
Wait, you don't know anything about marijuana culture. You're saying you've never watched Trailer Park Boys.
Well, yeah, but I'm more focused on the guy with the glass of rye.
Julian. You don't even know their names.
Yeah, I'm sad that you do know their names.
Oh,
we have.
They're on Netflix now, all 7 seasons.
Quit
the
advertising
original
Netflix.
run.
So
anyway,
I go up to this thing, and I don't do marijuana. I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not even apologizing for that. So I go to the booth, and I'm trying to get the policy out there to all these people. But my God, there's other people doing the smoking marijuana illegally. They're all smoking it legally, and they're selling these little edible things or whatever, and it's all legal. And before you know it, I get this secondary hit going on.
I believe in the industry it's called a contact high.
Well, Greg, I'll acquiesce to your in-depth knowledge regarding the marijuana culture. So I get this contact high. Oh my God, I do not function well with a contact high because I was forgetting words. Some would say that's a good thing. But in this case, one of the significant words I was forgetting was the word "the." You try to carry on a conversation without using the word the. It's kind of so. This is what I can say unequivocally. I do not function well with marijuana, and it was not a pleasant experience for me.
Because you had the munchies, you got really hungry, you ate a plate of cookies, and then things only got worse.
Let me tell you exactly what happened. So I go to my hotel room after the thing, and I'm going to head home, and so I'm driving from Windsor. About an hour and a half later, so I'm coming into I don't know, way past London. I realized I left all my clothes in the closet. I had to drive back to Windsor and get it. So no, marijuana will not be playing any part in my any role in my life. You know, knock yourselves out, but it won't be playing any part in my role in my life there. So that was kind of a high point.
There we go.
Thank you. And it was a lot. That was a lot of fun, but I don't think I'll be doing that again.
Well, now you know, Bob, when you had that contact high, and I'm sure a little bit of paranoia set in, or maybe this is just the way you feel all the time. Do you think there's a conspiracy out there of irrelevant, boring, lame, slow, old media to keep us out, to keep the Trillium Party from really gaining traction?
So you're doing your very, very best to set me up, and I appreciate it. That's what I like about you, Greg. You feed the softballs to me. So,
just crank
there is an
out of the
absolute
park.
conspiracy. I'm the leader of the Trillium Party of Ontario. We've done amazing things. I'm taking on probably the hardest candidate in the Tory, in the PC regime, and I use that word, I think, accurately. Christine Elliott. They threw out the other PC candidate, and they brought her in to face off with me. So I'm kind of flattered by that. But you know what? I haven't been invited to one debate. Not one debate. The other candidates, some of them have been invited to 9, 10, and 12. But trying to get into one of the big three. The CBC refused to have me in the debate. The City TV refused to have me in the debate. And I met the requirements. I've met the requirements, but they just keep moving the goalposts. A new requirement here, new requirement there. So we do have a hard time getting it into there. Because I believe that all the big media are quite happy to have one of the big three in there. Because you'll still be buying ads in their papers. You'll still be supporting the free gifts to their TV stations and things like that. What we need to have is a fresh outlook. You deserve more from your elected officials. You deserve to have your voice heard in provincial parliament. And so far, 6 out of 10 people, 60% of the people say it's not worth it. And that's wrong. Because one thing I do know for sure about government, they all love to be loved, but they will accept being disliked. But bad things happen when the people don't care or respect their government in any form. And we're at 60% of the people not caring. And that is when very, very bad things happen. So start caring, folks. Support the Trillium Party of Ontario. Support the candidate in your area. Go to trilliumontario.ca, find the candidate in your area, and support them. And as always, we don't mind your monetary gifts. We still have another couple days you can do that. trilliumontario.ca. Check us out. Find something different, something better. Also, we have voteforbob.ca.
Well said, Bob. Well, we're just about out of time. That's our show for tonight. Thanks a lot, Bob.
And I think that's going to be it until the election, isn't it?
The election's in 2 days, so yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it really went pretty fast. And Greg, I want to thank you as a regular guest on your show. I want to thank you for doing such a great job. I want to thank our producer Jordan over there that does a great job, and all the guest hosts and other people. This has been quite a neat little ride here. And I know all the other candidates have had a good time coming in here. You're a good host, Greg.
Oh well, thank you, Bob. And I just want to say, you guys need to tune in next week because after the election, we just go off the rails. It's gonna get fun.
I'm sorry, I might not be here next week because I might be in Queens Park measuring the drapes for my new office.
Okay, 2 weeks from now.
There you go. Anyways, everybody out there, exercise your right and vote. Don't, just because you're you haven't voted last year, the year before that, or ever, you get out there and vote this election and make a difference.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Thanks, Ontario. See you next week.